Okay, in this lesson we're going to create a very rough block out of the character using basically just cubes and some simple extrusion and maybe creating some edge loops. So I'm gonna go through it not in pretty quickly. You saw me start this in the last tutorial, but I just wanted to start over. I'm going to start with legs and look from the front and the side. Try not to make too much detail straight away, but just create very basic shapes as they sort of present themselves on the pictures. There's your leg, which is basically just a cube stretched, and duplicate it to the other side. And here's a problem which you see. These are just these pictures are just taken with a camera phone, so there's a lot of perspective in there, and those feet are both standing firmly on the ground, but my wife wasn't standing that far away from me, so there's a lot of perspective in there, so it seems like they're actually it's not an orthographic view, so you gotta guess a little bit. You gotta just get around that problem and just make it look good. So we're gonna continue with the torso. Just do the same thing. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit and show you guys the arms. So here I placed a cube for the head, and there's a torso, and you can see it sort of starts to resemble a human figure. It always is a good idea to look at it from the perspective as well as the front and the side, just so you're not doing anything weird. At this point we create a little bit of detail in the legs, maybe like a knee or something, and really try to think about edge loops, because I find that modeling is 40% tools and 60% edge loops. Well, maybe 30% tools and 70% edge loops. The tools are really not that hard, and you only use a couple. I usually use extrude, create edge loop, a lot of selecting, moving points, duplication. I'm sure there's more. There's like create face, fill face, merge vertex. I use a lot, and then there's a whole lot of UV tools, which we're not going to do in this tutorial, since we're going to texture in ZBrush. Alright, in the meantime, I created the legs a little bit, fleshed them out a little bit, and looking a little bit better. Still very rough. And I can't stress enough, don't build too much detail in at an early point, because you're going to have to move around that stuff a lot. Because you're going to find out that that leg or that arm you made really should just be slightly different position, and if you have to move a lot of points, it just goes out of wonk really easily. So here we have another example of perspective. So the foot seems to be going down, and that's just because of the camera phone, and you just have to sort of guess, but that the foot is flat on the ground, so you sort of know what's going on. Okay, so same thing, maybe cut it up a little bit and try to create a very basic foot shape. Alright, we're going to jump ahead again a little bit to the arms I promised earlier. So another cube, that's my modeling tool of choice. I tend to make a lot of cubes or planes and cylinders. Those are good things to start from. You can create almost anything from those things, I found out. So you know, yeah, maybe some spheres, but spheres, I don't know. They have that you know, sort of where all the points come together at the top, and you know, you always have to delete that. It's not very nice. There's a lot of triangles in there, so you know, you don't really want that. Arms, same thing again. Try to put the edge loops where, you know, the actual joints are, or where, you know, even though this character doesn't animate, I still try to, you know, at least think a little bit about it. For when we export to ZBrush, it's really important that the meshes are evenly divided, because otherwise you're going to have some really long polys and they don't brush very well. Even if you subdivide a lot, then they brush well, but then at other points you have like a really dense mesh, and it just makes it heavy where it's not needed. So as we'll see later, we'll try to keep our polys about the same size all over, and you'll see me create some edge loops just to create that. Alright, so there you have it. Beautiful arm. And we're going to create the other one, and then I'm going to create a sword, and I'm going to just jump to that so you guys can see that, and then we'll have our very low poly character. Alright, so second arm is made. Same principle. Just make sure that it all goes where you want. At this point it really doesn't matter. You know, you can just grab edges, faces, and just look in your perspective and see, you know, if it looks okay. You could turn off the image planes in your perspective, so they only show in your front and side, by setting them to through camera only, which is, you know, which is nice, but I chose not to do that. Here is where we well, let me finish that. I chose not to do that because I, you know, in perspective I still sort of look at it, but if it bothers you and because you can't see through them, then you can turn them off. Okay, so another cube to create a mighty sword instead of a broom. It's just a little bit more intimidating, isn't it? And some simple edge loops here and there, and create a very simple sword shape, which I'll replace with something a bit more high res later on. What I'm doing here is I'm modeling it into place, in place, and usually, you know, because I'm blocking out, this is also why you block out. You create, you know, what you want to create, and then later on I can duplicate that and put it at the origin. And you know, it's these kind of things are always really nice to just model lying flat, or you know, exactly on an axis, so you can just mirror to the side and you know, not have to worry where you are in space and all that kind of things. We're still relatively, you know, centered, but you know, we will see when we do the real model of the sword. Going a little bit overboard here, but I just want to I guess, you know, create the impression. Alright, beautiful sword. Yeah, see, I do use spheres. Proving myself wrong. But you know, this blocking face, I don't think I would use it anywhere else. So we group it, and we center the pivot, so we can you know, just put it a little bit off axis, make it a little bit more interesting. So there you have it. Well, you know, I guess we gotta put the sword a little bit better. Select the whole group. You can change the way the so I'm choosing world space here to move, which means that it goes straight forward instead of you know, the axis of the of the rotated object. Alright, there we go. Okay, that's it for this lesson. Next lesson I will continue blocking out the character, continue with the hands. See you guys there.